Yeah. What they kind of said in the video was that 1 million Earths can fit inside the sun, which is like
That little tiny thing.
that's the Earth compared to the sun. Okay.
So the sun's mass is a really big number, and it's equivalent to 333,060 Earths. So you got this line coming across, which is Earth, and that's not the mass, but that is the density.
Okay, so we live in constant mercy of the sun. It controls all aspects of our lives, our food, our climate. All planets are greatly influenced by it. And the influence is growing stronger, however. And in the future, scientists are scared that we will lose protection from cosmic rays because the boundary from intergalactic rays is growing smaller.
So many people do know this, but day and night is caused by the sun as the Earth rotates while it orbits the sun. And sunrise, sunset, and all different positions of the sun in the sky during the day are due to the rotation of the Earth rather than the motion of the sun. This is from a book by Robertson. A moon is lit by the sun. I don't know if you guys knew that, but there's no moons that orbit the sun. And a solar eclipse occurs when the moon passes between the sun and the Earth, and the moon fully covers the sun's light. And this can only happen during a new moon because the sun and the moon are seen from the Earth in alignment. And this is a picture of that for you. This is our last slide. As seen in a solar eclipse, Earth appears as it is nighttime. Imagine what it would be like without the sun at all. Like that. And it's dead. And then we got our table of contents with all our links. And table of contents part 2. There you go.
What's the presentation? That's been in English. Good job.
Yeah. That's all.
Woo! Any questions for them?
Oh, I should say.
Okay, so some things.
You said leave it up, right?
Yep. So some things I would point out. I'll try not to repeat anything that I said in the previous presentation, but what we saw here was a use of the animations and the transitions between the slides. Really took it up and made it look like another level more professional because you had the animations and transitions. That helps promote engagement from people. I also noticed early on there were some new scientific words and you had taken the time to learn how to pronounce them correctly, like aphelion and so forth. So that was good to see. The makeup of the sun, where you had the composition and the graphs. It's easy to find all kinds of images on the web, but many of them kind of look old. That looked very, very new, that graph, right? So it was like a new, modern picture of it. So that was a nice selection. Yeah, so that looked really modern, up to date, as opposed to an old kind of boring thing. The atmosphere picture, I did not really understand what this was showing at all.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
So,
now that I look at it.
I just didn't understand what the green thing, I'd actually, the green thing is, the yellow thing, probably by myself, I would need several minutes to get at it. So in that case, we need to, before we deliver the part of the presentation we want to say, we need to explain what the graphic is showing. So this is a three-dimensional thing. This is cut away, like a top chunk is cut out of it. You can see this real bright area is the core where the nuclear reactions are happening. And so then there's this radiative zone where that energy is radiating out that takes 200,000 years. Right, so now we would go into explaining that. And then there's the energy is radiating out and of all these collisions as the light is, the photons and the light are moving outward. That's what takes a long time. Then it gets to the convective zone. and that starts and then I would explain each of those parts to make the point. But the main thing, the takeaway is we have to explain these kinds of graphics before we get to the main point we want to make. Otherwise, they end up not being effective. The video transitions were excellent despite the fact that you had problems, right? So you guys worked well together there, except going into the last one. So those transitions were good. I really liked how you focused on this time delay thing about it's been hundreds of thousands of years, not millions, but hundreds of thousands of years for the light to get out, escape the sun, and come across here. So the video did a pretty good job of it. Your explanation of it afterward, Max, was kind of confused. It was like you didn't rehearse it, or maybe you did it and got nervous or something. The birth and death of the sun, his name is Gamal. That was the one thing, but he's a very, very... But it was at this point that I started making notes and asking questions about, I'm not understanding the structure or the storyline. It almost seemed like each slide was starting to become like a random thing that wasn't connected. It wasn't part of a coherent story that seemed connected. So I didn't know why that slide was there.
Which one?
The birth and death of the sun.
Yeah, the trees.
I just didn't know why it was there. By 8 o'clock, or by 8 minutes, you were transitioning to the sun song. And, my comment there was, it was cute, it was neat, and it played for 1 minute and 40 seconds. So, of your 12 and a half minutes, it was like 15% of the whole presentation.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering what we got out of it. Like what educationally or instructionally, and it made me think like, is this just cute and it's just telling us things we already know about the sun? And I think it was more of that. The one thing that came out of it though was this idea of the relative size of the Earth. And
Yeah, that's like kind of like, because we were gonna like, we had this slide, but like, I don't know, like it was kind of like.
Yeah, so I understand it was like a creative license thing, but it was a lot of time for very little effect. And it also then led to some confusion because in the song it said there are a million, but clearly when the sun pulled up its skirt and you looked inside, there wasn't a million Earths inside it, right? So something wasn't right. And then later you said 300,000, so it became a little confusing with that. One way around that is, so I don't think that was a good choice. You could show multiple visual picture representations of it. So you could have this one and another one that shows the Earth. If you did, Earth size compared to sun, Google image search, you're going to find 100 really wonderful images. So I think it would have been more effective to show multiple representations of that and then give a number.
Okay.
The time wasn't justified for the video, I think. And the PowerPoint itself, like I said, that stuff was done very, very well. The consistency of the fonts, the use of the fonts, very professional, clean looking. And clearly everything, you had everything cited right there on the page. Okay? So now it's your turn to give them feedback in the form.